A marketer named Eva Keiffenheim wrote in early 2026 about a project she had to onboard inside one weekend. The client was in a domain she had never worked in before. By Sunday afternoon, she had shipped the first deliverable. Her exact words on her blog were, "Within an hour, it was working." Read the line, "Within an hour, it was working." She did not become an expert. She did not memorize the textbook for the field. She did the 4 steps a normal person can run on any unfamiliar domain in about an hour total on Saturday, and by Sunday she could speak the language of that field well enough to ship a real piece of work that the client paid for. That is the entire subject of this episode, not the standard learn anything fast advice, not the Feynman technique that has been retold for 10 years. The specific 4-step loop that a non-coder can run with the help of a model on Saturday morning that ends in a shipped artifact by Sunday lunch, and that makes the people watching you assume you have been doing this for years. The viewer leaves with a working skill.md file for whichever unfamiliar field they pick. That file is the proof. Run the loop on any domain you want. Do it again next weekend on a different one. 3 weekends in, your friends start asking you how you got so good so fast. The next 60 minutes of your life is the walkthrough. 3 things in order. First, why the standard learn anything fast advice fails for adult professionals. Books are too slow, courses are too generic. Watching a tutorial gets you 10% of the way there and stops. Second, the 4-step Saturday loop, 1 hour total. Glossary load, expert roleplay, Socratic primer, ship a working artifact. Third, the artifact. By the time the loop is done, you have a skill.md file in plain English that runs the same loop next weekend on any other domain. The system itself spreads. The standard learn anything fast advice has been the same for 15 years. Pick one resource, read it slowly. Use the Feynman technique, take notes, test yourself. The advice is not wrong, it is just slow. Books take 15 to 20 hours to finish. Courses take 10 to 40 hours. Even the famous Josh Kaufman first 20 hours rule, which is good advice, is 20 hours. For an adult who needs to ship something Monday morning, 20 hours is not the relevant window. The relevant window is Saturday morning to Sunday lunch, which is 6 hours, and most of those 6 hours need to be flexible enough that you can stop to make coffee. The reason these older systems exist is that until very recently, the only way to learn something fast was to ingest a lot of information and try to compress it. The bottleneck was that the only experts available were either expensive at $1,000 an hour or scarce. In 2026, that bottleneck is structurally gone. A working expert in almost any field is now available to you in your kitchen for the cost of a coffee subscription. The expert is not perfect. It is not a real human. It is a model that has read the field's literature, holds a working understanding of the patterns, and will sit with you for as long as you need to ask the dumb questions you would never ask a paid consultant. The testing effect documented by Karpicke and Roediger in 2008 were being tested on material beats rereading material by roughly 46 percentage points still applies inside the loop. The active recall research is still right. Henry Roediger and Jeffrey Karpicke at Washington University, 2008. Subjects tested immediately after exposure scored 80% on a delayed test. Subjects who reread the material scored 34%. What changed is the front end. You no longer need to ingest the field by yourself before the testing starts. The expert holds the field for you and the testing happens in the conversation. That is what makes Saturday possible. The 4 steps in order. Each one is 15 minutes. The whole loop takes about an hour. Step 1. Load the glossary. Have the model give you the field's vocabulary in sentences a 6th grader could read. Step 2. Roleplay an expert. Tell the model to act like a working professional in that field and ask it the dumb questions you would never ask a paid consultant. Step 3. Socratic primer. Ask the model to ask you 5 questions back to test if you actually understood and explain when you get one wrong. Step 4. Ship a working artifact. Take a real task in the field and have the model help you produce a small piece of real work in it. After the loop, save the 4 steps as a skill.md file. The next time you need to learn a new field, you run the same file. The system spreads, walk the 4 steps. Step 1, load the glossary, 15 minutes, open a new conversation with Claude. Type the opening line in your own words, but the structure is this. I am about to do work in a field I do not know. The field is X. Give me the 50 most important terms in this field defined in plain sentences a 6th grader could read in order from most fundamental to most specialized. The model will respond with the list. Read it slowly. The first 5 terms are usually the foundation. The middle 30 are the working vocabulary. The last 15 are the specialist edges. By the time you finish reading, you can recognize most of what an expert in that field would say. A real example, a consultant onboarding a new healthcare client typed this prompt for the first time in early 2026. By the end of 15 minutes, she had the working vocabulary of revenue cycle management. She could recognize claims, denials, accounts receivable, payer mix, and prior authorization on site. None of these were terms she would have known the day before. Step 2. Roleplay an expert. 15 minutes, same conversation, type, now act like a senior X in this field who has been doing this for 20 years. Talk to me the way you would talk to a colleague who is brand new to the field. I am going to ask you questions. Answer them in plain sentences with concrete examples. Anthropic itself recommends roleplay as a documented teaching pattern in their platform docs in a section called Learning Mode. The dumb questions are the entire value. What does this term actually mean in practice? Why does the field do it this way and not that way? What is the most common mistake a beginner makes here? What separates a great practitioner from a mediocre one? A real example, a 50-year-old non-coder named Aditya Agarwal wrote in mid-2026 about onboarding a new technical hobby in one weekend using exactly this step. After 25 minutes of dumb questions to a roleplay expert, he wrote, "We will never write code by hand again," meaning the depth of conversation he had crossed had compressed what would have been weeks of self-study into a single afternoon. Step 3. Socratic primer, 15 minutes, same conversation, type, now switch roles, you are the teacher and I am the student. Ask me 5 questions to test whether I actually understood what we just discussed. After each answer, tell me if I got it right or wrong, and if I got it wrong, explain why. This is the testing effect documented by Henry Roediger and Jeffrey Karpicke at Washington University in 2008. They found that subjects who were tested on material immediately after exposure scored 80% on a delayed test, while subjects who simply reread the material scored 34%. That is a 46 percentage point gap. Active recall beats passive review by almost 2 to 1. The model now runs the testing effect for you on the exact field you just loaded, with explanations on the wrong answers. The questions usually find the gap in your understanding within the first 3 questions. By question 5, the gap is closed. Step 4, ship a working artifact. 15 minutes, same conversation, pick a real task in the field, not a fake practice problem, a real task, the thing you actually need to ship. Type, here is the task, help me draft the first version, then walk me through whether the draft is reasonable for someone working in this field and what to fix. This is where the loop earns its name. The first 3 steps gave you knowledge. Step 4 gives you proof. By the end of 15 minutes, you have a draft of the actual deliverable. It is not perfect. It is good enough that someone in the field would not laugh at it. The next iteration polishes it. The third iteration ships it. That is the whole loop. 60 minutes. One unfamiliar field crossed. Now, the saving step that most people skip and lose. After the loop is done, copy the 4 steps you just ran into a single text file. Name the file learnanything.md, save it in a folder you can find again. The next weekend, when a new domain shows up, you do not start from zero. You open learnanything.md, swap in the new field, and run the same hour. The loop is now permanent. By the 3rd weekend, you have built up a small library of these files. By the 3rd month, your friends start asking how you got so good at so many things so fast. 3 honest limits. The first thing is that this loop is for fields where the work is mostly conversational and structured. Marketing, consulting, legal research, project management, strategy, financial analysis, most knowledge work fits. The loop does not work for fields that require physical practice like surgery, plumbing, or playing an instrument. You cannot roleplay your way into being a good drummer. The body has to do the reps. The second thing is that the model is not a replacement for the senior practitioner who decides whether your work is good. Your draft after step 4 is a working draft. It is not the final word. The senior consultant in that field will see things you missed. The lawyer will spot the regulatory issue you did not know to look for. The third thing is that some fields the model genuinely does not know well. Highly proprietary domains, very recent developments after the model's training window, niche industries with little public documentation. In those cases, the glossary load returns thin material and the roleplay expert is shallow. You can still use the loop, but you will need to bring in real source material yourself, paste it in, and have the model work from your provided documents instead of its general training. If those 3 limits are accepted, the loop is the most reliable way to compress a knowledge field into one weekend that exists in 2026. It is not magic, it is the testing effect plus an always available expert plus a save the system step. The Saturday plan, 60 minutes total, 1 field, 1 artifact. Pick the field, whatever new domain has been on your mind. A new client industry, a hobby that requires technical depth. A career pivot you keep postponing, a topic your kids are studying that you wish you understood. Anything that is currently a mystery to you and would help if it were not. Open a fresh conversation with Claude. Have a notebook or a text file open next to it. Step 1, 15 minutes. Type, I am about to work in a field I do not know. The field is then your field. Give me the 50 most important terms in this field, defined in plain sentences a 6th grader could read, ordered from most fundamental to most specialized. Read what comes back. Underline anything that surprises you. Step 2, 15 minutes. Type, now act like a senior practitioner in that field who has been doing this for 20 years. I am going to ask you questions. Answer them in plain sentences with concrete examples. Then ask the dumb questions. What is the biggest mistake a beginner makes? Why does the field do it this way and not that way? What does a great practitioner do that a mediocre one does not? Take notes on the answers. Step 3. 15 minutes. Type, now switch roles. You are the teacher and I am the student. Ask me 5 questions to test what I actually understood. Tell me when I get one wrong and explain. Answer the 5 questions out loud even if it feels silly. The act of answering is what locks the material in. Step 4. 15 minutes. Pick a real task you need to ship in this field. Type, here is the task. Help me draft the first version. Walk me through whether the draft is reasonable and what to fix. Edit the draft until it is good enough that someone in the field would not laugh at it. After the 4 steps, take 5 extra minutes to save the loop. Open a text file. Write down the 4 steps you just ran with the field replaced by a placeholder. Save the file as learnanything.md. The next time a new field shows up, you do not start from scratch. You open this file. After the first run, write a date 1 week from today on the calendar. That is when you run the loop on a different field. Not the same one, a new one. The repetition is what builds the genius effect. 3 weekends in, your friends notice. 3 weekends, 3 artifacts. The genius effect starts on the 3rd one. If this reframed how you think about learning a new field, run the loop this Saturday, then comment genius below with 1 word. The unfamiliar field you ran the loop on. Marketing, healthcare, robotics, plumbing, economics, whatever it was. That 1 word tells me which field to walk through at deeper resolution next week. The starter learnanything.md template that pairs with this episode is in the link in the description. 4 steps, 60 minutes, 1 field per weekend, 3 weekends to start the genius effect. If you want to compare your first artifact with what other people are building, the school community link in the description. Real fields, real artifacts, real critique. Subscribe and the next 4 episodes follow this same path. The 50 Claude Code skills I tested that actually make you money. A 1-week experiment of building 5 skills from a kitchen table. Build a second brain that remembers everything. And the contrarian reframe nobody is teaching about prompt engineering. Mondays through Thursdays, 6:30 in the evening Eastern. The loop runs in an hour. The genius effect takes 3 weekends. The friends notice by the fourth one, I will see you Saturday.